Welcome back, brothers and sisters. Tim Braden, Second Legacy. You are amazing. And what we're going to talk about right now is something that seems to be happening a lot recently. It's almost like there's this, let's call it misinformation campaign from the left, the gun controlling side, like March for Our Lives in this case. But Giffords does it, Everytown does it. They always seem to put out these posts implying there's always these mass shootings, Tim. Things are always going insane. Guns are the problem. It's horrible. But then you don't hear a peep and something is mismatched. We call this an invisible mass shooting over on my channel because no one tells you about it, but they still try to count it as a number. We're about to show you why. Of course, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, turn the notification bell on. All right, Tim. Listen, one of the things that we've mentioned, and you are very passionate about this, and I will give you 100% credit for this. You have a very serious issue, and I share the issue as well, but you've been very vocal about it, of letting the problem persist for political expediency, right?
Yes.
Talking about tragedy that is happening with either children or schools or churches or just the population in general. They will let criminals back out from the progressive DAs. They'll let basically gangs back out, and the shootings will happen, and then they'll blame guns. And they won't fix the problem. They'll just blame guns because it lines to their political desires.
Right. They won't try anything to
Only
stop
what they
the
want.
violence in schools. The only thing they'll accept is a gun ban. They will not accept
Correct.
any other possible solutions. They turn their back up to it. Matter of fact, every time a bill comes up to like reinforce the security at schools, federally fund security at schools, anything to do with security at schools, arming teachers, anything to do with securing the schools, they poo-poo. And then they go on campaigns like the idiot Davey over at K-12 Shooting Database. He'll go on campaigns and saying, well, you just say that it's like putting security in an airport, but it's not. We have more students. There's more schools than airports in this country. It would cost $1 billion. And it's like, yeah, we could send $200 billion a week to Ukraine to defend their citizens.
That's fine.
Or,
all of a sudden
we
money
could
matters.
But we don't want to spend that money here in the United States to secure our children. No. We got more important things to do. We got helicopter that money all over the world. We're just not going to take care of our children. And the only solution to the problem is to take your rights away. That's what we do in a free society.
Right. And that's the point. That right there. The problem is so drastic and so horrible. We are willing to do anything to stop it as long as it's only what we want to infringe upon your gun rights. Yes. Because we're not going to do it if it's anything else. Because if it's something that solves the problem, but you still get to keep your gun rights, that doesn't help the gun control narrative. Right. And that's a big point of this. So the reason I led this in here, Tim, this is actually the Dr. Slides. This is actually the post from March for Our Lives on Twitter. We're heartbroken once again. What should have been a celebratory day at the storied HBU, or the historically black college and university, Tuskegee University's 100th homecoming week turned into a terrifying scene of violence over the weekend. 16 were injured, including students, and one person was killed. Young people deserve more than this. So right there, they would be alluding to the fact that there's this mass shooting and then it was a horrible thing, but you didn't hear about it on the news. That's the tell. You didn't hear about it in the media. You didn't hear about it anywhere except when they do a little virtue signal post. Well,
this
when
is a
you
campaign.
click on it,
I just want to quickly point out that this is a campaign. These types of posts by people like March for Your Lives, these are fundraising posts.
Yes,
this is to get people wound up to donate.
Yep.
This is how they fund themselves. This has nothing to do with your safety or the safety of children. This has to do with, hey, the media is not talking about this, but we're going to quickly stick this out there. Give us money and we can take these rights away so we can stop the violence in the schools. That's all this is. Anyway,
no, that's the 100%. No, you are 100%. You are over the target. It is 100% a fundraising operation. But now, again, and this is why it's so interesting, because you guys know there's a very distinct difference when there is a tragedy that happens, the wall-to-wall coverage for 48, 72 hours about how our gun rights are bad, and Democrats seize the moment and try to ban guns, introduce bills, do speeches on the floor. Chris Murphy, gun control captain in the Senate, never misses an opportunity to go out there and do a virtue signaling, emotionally laden speech on the Senate, the well of the Senate. But they never tell you the details. Because this one, all of a sudden, it was weird. You'd think 16 people would be a big national story, unless you hear this. A person is dead and 16 are hurt after a shooting at Tuskegee University. 1 arrest made. Hey, Tim, aren't universities, what are those? You can't have guns there, right? Those
those are banned. Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird. It's a gun-free zone.
It's a gun-free zone, which keeps them safe, clearly.
I mean, obviously, there wouldn't be a gun there because it's a gun-free zone.
Yeah.
This defies logic. Maybe that's one thing that they wouldn't want to cover. And also, there's this little piece right here. Let me just get into the first paragraph. A shooting early Sunday during homecoming weekend at Tuskegee University in Alabama left one person dead and 16 injured, a dozen of them by gunfire. One arrest was announced hours later. Now, listen to this. The Alabama law enforcement agencies said Jaquez Myrick, sure, 25 of Montgomery, was taken into custody while leaving the scene on the campus of shooting and had been, oh my God, words. Okay, I'm going to restart that whole sentence. That was hard. He was from Montgomery, was taken into custody while leaving the scene of the campus shooting and had been found with a handgun with a machine gun conversion device. Wait a minute.
That sounds illegal to me.
Those are illegal.
Yeah.
On a gun-free zone?
Yeah, I mean, gosh, this guy broke 2 laws?
That's 3. Because he shot somebody.
Yeah, that's true.
That's
well, he shot a dozen people, apparently.
Well, so, killed 16 people.
Yeah.
But see, now this is where it gets really interesting and fuzzy, because we can't put the 16 people on this guy. It gets more complicated, Tim. Right now, we're only staying on the fact that on a gun-free zone, there was a shooting. He was arrested and had a machine gun conversion device, which is an NFA violation, which is like only.
I'm going with an Amazon purchased Glock switch, but
all right, that's what you're going with. Well, the details are not shared. I hate to spoil it to you. That the details are not shared with that, but I do want to say one more thing here, and I think this is absolutely fascinating. A quote that they had. Let me find it here. The parents, Tuskegee. This is interesting. City police were responding to an unrelated double shooting off campus when officers got the call about the university shooting. It was on campus apartments, of course. Here's the quote, and I find this so fascinating, Tim, because something is not adding up. Some idiots started shooting, Martis told the news site Alabama.com. You can't get the emergency vehicles in there. There were so many people there. Wait a minute. Some idiots started shooting? That sounds kind of like conflict with firearms between people on a gun-free zone that had machine gun conversion devices, and innocent civilians were caught up in the crossfire, doesn't it, Tim?
Yeah. So what you're saying is gang violence.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't say it because that would be mean, because I can't hurt feelings, because that would be bad. But maybe some of the details that we just shared with you there, maybe that's why the media hasn't done this wall to wall, because it would kind of be counterintuitive to the gun control narrative, and maybe March for Our Lives can eat a big bag of eggplants.
Yeah.
Because they are manipulating people for their money on the backs of basically tragedy.
Yeah. I mean, the only time something like this goes viral in the mainstream media is if a white Christian male does it. But if somebody belongs to any special interest group or minority group or anything like that, then they can't really talk about it, right? Mm-hmm. Like if somebody is trans and they go and shoot up a school, we're not going to really talk about that. We're not going to release the manifesto. We're just going to kind of bury that one. If somebody of color does something like this, we can't really bring heat on that community. It's just not fair. It's racist to do that, to call out their crimes. So we're just going to kind of bury that one. But everybody else, you're gonna get your 15 minutes of fame.
Yeah, it's
crazy.
I'll tell you, it's crazy. It's not good. It's not good at all. And what I find so fascinating about this, Tim, if we go back to the March for Our Lives tweet that instigated this whole video, the reason that I cover these things, it's not because I want to be celebratory in the violence or be celebratory in the issues that are occurring. It's incredibly easy to see the hypocrisy in what they're doing. As Tim mentioned, this is obviously something that has been written to evoke emotion, to evoke people to get up in arms about gun control and raise funds. They're not telling you the details. They're not saying that the individual was caught with a machine gun device, which is a violation of the NFA. They aren't telling you it's on a gun-free zone. They aren't telling you that there were multiple individual shooters. They aren't telling you any of the details whatsoever, which paint the entire picture. Yeah. All they care about is they get their fundraising thing out. They raise some clicks and some impressions, 11,000 whole impressions, and then they get their fundraising, and they just put another notch in the Gun Violence Archive's mass shooting database.
Yep. As Braden said, there's nothing of substance in this post. It's all emotional. We are heartbroken. Once again, a day of celebration is destroyed by this random shooting we're going to give you no details about, because if we did, you might not feel sympathetic, because it turns out maybe it's just something as simple as gang violence. And we got to yank at those heartstrings. So we're just going to make this stupid post with no details other than a bunch of emotional tripe, just so you'll donate some money to us. And we can go on vacation somewhere, maybe. I don't know. Maybe they could
Yeah.
give $1 billion to Harris, and in 90 days she can burn through all of it and wind up $20 million in debt.
And then be some very serious questions about where that money went from the Democratic donors. Be like,
Yeah.
I don't know. That's weird. That's odd.
These people are so responsible with their funding, like Davey Hogg and his group, they paid themselves a whole lot of money and gave almost nothing to their candidates they're supposedly supporting. It's just, it's just they have a problem with honesty and virtue signaling and doing silly things like this just so they can justify their own existence and pay their salaries and in the process try to take your rights away. But do they really want your rights taken away? Because if they got all the guns banned, then they wouldn't have a job. So who knows what they're really thinking here?
I think it's the job thing. I think it's this is totally conjecture. I genuinely think that they have figured out that they have a career and they have a revenue and they have a corporation revenue stream from the government and all the donations and the grants. I think they've figured out that if they can continue the pressure up, keep the momentum going, not go too far to make themselves out of a job, but also not go quiet where they don't get money and grants. I think they are living in the happy medium world where they're constantly saying, we're going to ban ARs. We're going to get those guns off the street. Meanwhile, they know they're not going to. They're just milking the system for all it's worth. That's honest to God what I think it is.
Me too.
It's a corporation.
Yep. And they're using a hot button issue to get money to fund themselves, not necessarily to help people. They don't care about people. They care about agendas. All right. With all that being said, thank you for watching Second Legacy. We'll talk to you guys soon.